Hello fellow Earthlings, it's Libs, and today I'm going to be doing my October reading wrap-up, hopefully before the sun goes down. So I am pre-filming this. I haven't finished all the books I will hopefully have finished by the end of October, but I'll tell you how I'm feeling about them at the moment. I believe in myself. I believe I can finish 2 books in a couple days. I can do that. It's been a pretty average reading month. I think I will have finished 7 books by the end of the month, which is good. It's just none of these books have blown me away. The highest I think I've given anything is 4 stars, which is fine. It's just, I don't feel like I've read a 5-star book for ages. And I would just really like to read one. So hopefully things will be a bit better next month, but I'll go through everything I've read in October so far. So the first book I completed was The Kite Runner, which was intense. That's a very intense book, which I was not prepared for in the slightest. I still appreciated it and enjoyed it to an extent. It's not a book I'd recommend for everyone, but you know, it's good writing, interesting story. I can't even go into it anymore. It's just a lot. I gave it 4 stars because it is good. It's not a book I'm ever going to want to read again, or that I necessarily feel like recommending to a lot of people, just depending on what you can deal with in a book and what you can't. So look up trigger warnings if you're interested in checking this book out, because it's a lot. Then I read The History of Witchcraft by Lois Martin, which is a non-fiction book looking at sort of medieval witchcraft, mainly looking at it through a European lens. This is a tiny non-fiction book, so it doesn't give you a huge amount of detail, but I think it does a really good job at kind of pointing you in directions for further research, which I think is helpful because not everyone wants to read a giant textbook to try and figure out what areas they want to learn about. So I thought this was a really great little book. I gave it 4 stars. It's not the most informative, but it's good if you just want to learn about where all the different sort of myths about witches in the Middle Ages came from. It's very cool. Next, I read Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. You'll probably be able to tell as I go through that I had a very kind of spooky vibe that I wanted to go for this month with the witchcraft and Jamaica Inn and a few more that I'm reading at the moment. I don't know how to talk about Jamaica Inn. I decided last year that I wanted to collect all the Daphne du Mauriers in this particular edition and read them all. I'm still keen to do that, but this book wasn't my favourite. The first book I read this year was Frenchman's Creek, and I preferred that a lot more to this one. Not that Jamaica Inn is bad, it's just it did that thing where there's like a twist on the twist, and that extra twist just went a little overboard, just that little bit too far, where you're left going, what? We're not really going to explain this? Oh, okay. It went a little too far with the story, and I just wasn't that interested in it, or just, you know, felt that disappointment going, oh, this is the direction we're going in and there's only, you know, so many pages left. I know this isn't going to be wrapped up in a way I'm satisfied with. So it wasn't my favourite. I really enjoyed the main villain. I thought that was just such a... So the first half was amazing. It's about this 23-year-old woman whose parents have died, and her mother's dying wish was that the girl would go and live with her aunt and her aunt's husband. and our protagonist has, you know, very fond memories of her aunt from like 10 years ago. Ooh, okay. But her husband's terrible. Turns out the husband's terrible. And that the aunt is no longer the person that our protagonist remembers. And it's all the threat of this awful uncle kind of looming over their heads, and in this creepy place called Jamaica Inn, where no people really visit anymore because there are so many rumours about the mysterious and super illegal things going on there. So I gave it 3.5 stars, mainly just because the ending was such a letdown, but you know, it was still pretty decent. Still a decent book. Would still say if you're interested, give it a shot. Now, the book I spent the majority of the month reading was The Sea by Iris Murdoch. This was a long one. This is over 600 pages, and the audiobook was 23 hours. It was a journey. This is a story told through the diary entries of this like 60-year-old man who was this big theatre director guy, and it's about him moving to the sea, and it's kind of this exploration of like toxic masculinity, and this guy just being super not self-aware for 600 pages. It's kind of insane. It worked as an October read because it was very creepy and a bit surreal and insane, but I enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. I don't know how to explain this book because so little happens but so much happens. It's just, it's a lot. It's great. It's a lot. You just have to be prepared for just how insane things get, and I don't want to spoil it, so I won't tell you much about this one. The Sea is more than anything a deep dive into this character and his mindset and how toxic he is but doesn't realize it, and how he just believes he knows what everyone around him is thinking and what they want to do, and doesn't really acknowledge their feelings. He just assumes he knows what's best for everyone around him, and it's very intense, but it's very good. Then I read Hear the Wind Sing by Haruki Murakami, and this is the first in the Rat series. I don't know what it is. I did not like this one. I don't even know how to tell you what this is about because I zoned out so often. It was a 3-hour audiobook and I don't remember anything really. It's just this guy who's a writer and he's a uni student on holidays his uni holidays, and it's just him drinking with his buddy and thinking about all the women he's ever been with and meeting this one woman who's missing her little finger. Nothing happens. I don't know, I read this mainly to try and hype myself up for reading some bigger Murakami, and that has not happened, so this book wasn't for me. I have nothing else to add to that. And the other book I finished this month was Spring by Ali Smith. I've been trying to read the whole seasonal quartet as the seasons happen, because I'm in the southern hemisphere, so springtime now. This was good. Autumn's my favourite, then spring, then winter, I think, would be how I'd rank them at the moment. I think spring hits really hard. It's definitely the one that, this is the one that was written in 2018, and you really feel it. It's very, very impactful, but I think story-wise I still preferred autumn, whereas winter I think is the one that's a little bit forgettable, although I still really enjoyed that. So I gave Spring 4 stars. Thanks, dog. It's mainly about, this one's mainly about poetry and refugees and immigration in the UK. So the quartet's really difficult to explain because I don't really know how to put it in words. It's all the books are about so many different things, and you can read them in whatever order you would like to. There's no overarching story. It's more just the themes that continue throughout. And then the books I'm currently reading are Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I think I've finished this book before a few years ago, but I don't really remember, so I decided to give it a reread. I'm about 70% through, and it's pretty good, but it's not my favourite. It's probably sitting at a 3-star read for me at the moment. And then I'm also reading Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado, which is a short story collection which is really spooky, got some horror elements. It's very cool so far. I'm not the biggest fan of short story collections, but I really wanted to give this one a shot in October. So far it's probably the best short story collection I've read this year. Yeah, it's good. I'll probably talk about it in next month's wrap up, but the stories focus a lot on feminism and motherhood and relationships, so I'm really liking that aspect of it. I just think there's a lot of it's a kind of book you definitely need your headphones in if you're gonna listen to it, because there's a lot of sex in this book. You don't want someone walking in it when you're listening to it, because there's so much sex. I was not expecting that. It's fine, but just be aware there's a lot going on. When you're listening to the audiobook, it's a bit of a surprise at the start. And I'm about 30% of the way through that. And I should definitely have finished that by the end of October. Yeah, follow me on Storygraph if you want to see how I rate these two books when I actually finish them. And so that's it for this video. Those are all the books I read in October. It's been a weird month with uni, but it's good. I've read a decent amount of books. I am happy. I'm very tired. And I will see you next time. Bye.